In the Pacific Northwest corner of the United States lies beautiful Puget Sound, home to a rich diversity of marine and terrestrial wildlife. But what happens when we take a closer look at what is in its waters? And even closer? And even closer. Here we find seemingly innocuous phytoplankton, such as Heterosigma HAB Lab, but an international team of researchers are at the University of Washington Friday Harbor Labs putting this rhapidophyte under the microscope.
We have been watching Heterosigma and its effects on Puget Sound fish for a number of years. What we know is that periodically, every 2 or 3 years, Heterosigma blooms, and we have mass mortalities of net pen fish, huge numbers of deaths, millions of fish dying, up to $6 million lost by the salmon farmers that are raising the Atlantic salmon in net pens.
It's of great interest to understand, first of all, what types of phytoplankton kill fish and how they kill fish, because if we know that, then perhaps we can come up with ways of either predicting where those problems will occur, or perhaps even come up with ways of mitigating those problems before they actually happen.
When these organisms occur, the fisheries survivalship are reduced, the food to the fish is reduced, and the food chain becomes less available. So ultimately there's a big ecological cascade problem for this organism.
We have to understand these processes and how they interact. And when some phytoplankton species, like Heterosigma HAB Lab, produce a toxin, they're not just producing a toxin because it's going to kill something. They're producing this toxin because they need to use the toxin for some purpose. It has to have some physiological or some purpose that's going to make their life as a single cell more successful. And so we don't understand how these toxins work, and we don't even understand why they produce them. So what's important about this project is to understand the process of toxicity and what triggers the toxin.
Many of the places where we grow fish, there are phytoplankton that kill them. Not often, but often enough that it can cause major problems for those aquaculture firms, which are private firms, and basically when they lose all of their fish, the companies can often go under.
I think it's a huge mistake if we give up on natural salmon runs. Yeah. And if we're going to help recover the species and recover essentially the populations, we have to understand how all stages of the life of these salmon interact with the rest of the environment. And Heterosigma HAB Lab is one of those microorganisms that may be affecting them.
So there's a new study that just came out looking at the returns of Fraser River Chinook salmon, and what is found is that in those years following major Heterosigma bloom events, the yields, the returns of the adult salmon are much, much less. So whether heterosigma is not likely the only cause, but a contributing factor to these lower returns, these depleted stocks. So we're working with hatcheries, we're working with fish farmers to see if there are tools that can be used to minimize these impacts. For example, we could work with the hatcheries to tell them at a particular time if there are Heterosigma blooms in the area. If they are there, they can delay their release of the smolts into the water, thereby potentially increasing the survival and then subsequently the yields of stock that are coming back.
But there's also products from the sea that we are dependent upon. The alginates, the carrageenans, stuff that's in yogurt, cottage cheese, milk products, all these things that help stabilize and preserve our samples forever. They're all marine-based products, so the quality of the marine environment really matters.
So even though you may not directly eat salmon or halibut or other things, there's actually a lot of fish products that are in your economy and in your food system already.
If you can ensure that natural fish stocks are healthy, if you can ensure that even the aquatic or the aquaculture fish stocks are happy, then you recognize that the community is happier. So you really are trying to do something positive on the big scale. You're not trying to change the world. Right. You're trying to keep the way the world has been changing to have a big impact on the people that have developed a need, a relationship between the fish stocks.